So as I think about kind of my own life, and I think about part of my job at SuperValue, which is how do we develop people and how do we develop leaders in our company, one of the things I think about is, so the future is getting to a point where it changes more rapidly and is far less predictable than it used to be. It's no longer a straight line progression from what the past was. And so how do I get myself ready and how do I get others ready to deal with the future we cannot possibly predict and is going to be full of disruptive change? And how do we do that? So let me share a kind of my own personal experience of kind of where I was put into something like that, and then how I think I was able to cope with it and deal with it, and then kind of what we're doing with people at SuperValue now, okay, about doing that. So 4 years ago, actually 5 years ago, I was in a very happy situation. I was leading HR for a subsidiary of SuperValue, and I got a phone call from the CEO of SuperValue inviting me to come north and say, yeah, I really want you to step up and think about running HR for all of SuperValue. And about 6 months into the job, so I'm still early stages of my learning curve, right? Boss calls me and says, Dave, I need your help. I want us to go acquire Albertsons. 13 months after I was running HR at the 6,000 person company, I'm now running HR for a company that's got 200,000 people in it, doing $40 billion in sales. And my boss says, okay, Dave, you're in charge of figuring out how we bring the people together and integrate the cultures. All right, go figure it out. And I went home that night thinking, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Like a lot of people had thought about it, and then went out and started asking lots of questions, getting help from a lot of people, engaging a lot of folks in conversations and seeking advice. We put a lot of programs in place. Many worked, a few didn't, and we had to kind of change gears along the way, but we learned from those. Several risks we took, and we breathed a big sigh of relief when they worked at the end of it, but it ended up working out. Thinking about, so how did I get through that, and why were we able to make that happen? I'm sitting there literally in a job I have no idea how to do, under set of circumstances I never thought I would have, how did I get through that? And as I thought about it, I said, it really came down to, I think, three things. And it was, I had developed over the course of my career and my life in general, a certain level of comfort with times of uncertainty. I had a certain amount of confidence from a variety of past jobs that I could be successful. And I had kind of developed a receptivity and open-mindedness to learning quickly. And I think those became the keys to how I could figure out this uncertain environment. Now, my favorite story around that is when we moved to Minnesota. One of my daughters was going to be between her sophomore and junior year. We told them in October we were going to move the following summer. We were going to finish the school year, and I was going to commute back and forth for those months. And so I fly out on Monday morning, come back on Friday night, and I walk in the door. She says, I hate you even more this week than I did last week. Okay? She was not a happy camper. I did my best, and we laugh now, because I did some major bribes trying to get her to win her over. So 6 months after we actually got the family up there, I come home one night and sit on the kitchen counter is an English paper, a big A on the top of it. She was real proud about that. But the paper she wrote, the writing assignment was pick a cliche and write how it applies to your life in 2 or 3 pages. So she had picked a cliche, don't judge a book by its cover. And it started off, open line was, I thought I was going to die. And that was how I reacted when my dad told us we're moving to Minnesota. Leaving all my friends in St. Louis, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been here now 6 months, and I have made great friends. I'm involved in choir and plays, and I'm having a ball. And it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me, okay, now that I've gotten here. And then 2 years later, she's in college, freshman year, and calls home one weekend, middle of the first semester, and says, Mom and Dad, I got to tell you something. I got a number of kids on my floor in the dorm who are dropping out and headed back home. It's their first time away from home to come to college, and they can't cope with it. Thanks for putting me through situations where I learned how to cope with that stuff, that I can move and adapt. And I've had no problem. I mean, I've moved into Minneapolis College with degrees. So we find that to be helpful. So I would tell you, as we all know, the world's changing fast. It's getting tougher and tougher to predict what it's going to be like. I consider myself to be 8 to 10 years from where I thought was going to be retirement. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I have less certainty today than I had 5 years ago on what that's going to look like, or even how that's going to happen. And I think that's the way we all have to prepare ourselves for the future. And finding ways to get ourselves ready to deal with that kind of uncertainty, both personally and professionally, is a challenge all of us need to embrace.